Hello and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, what I want to talk about really is the fundamentals of photography. Although I have been taking photographs for, 14 plus years, I suppose, landscape photography is, it proved to be, when I first started, really difficult to get my head around. Even though I was a people photographer before and a professional photographer, moving into landscapes, although the building blocks of composition are still there, I think it's even more using those fundamentals in landscape photography than what it is in people photography that really make for better pictures. If you understand and implement the different areas of composition into your work, then you will start to see a difference. So I will be talking a little bit about composition, so stick with me, and I'll also be telling you and teaching you a few different tips of things that I've picked up, and I want to concentrate on really the areas of composition that really changed my photography, because there was nothing worse. When I first started out in landscape photography, I was a bit lost in how to capture a good image and what made a good image. So hopefully some of these nuggets of information you might be able to keep a grasp of and use in your photography. So let's get into it and let's crack on and let's see what I'm talking about. So one thing I can guarantee, and one thing that I've learned over the years, that if you're not prepared and you've not planned things can quickly go from bad to worse in terms of the quality of your images. So poor planning will indeed produce poor images in my experience. So you really need to do your research, whether that be using Google Maps, OS Maps. I particularly like OS Maps because you can really see the ground in quite a bit of detail, and you can spot where waterfalls are, or indeed where the ground is quite steep, boggy and things like that. And OS Maps are fantastic for that. You also got plenty of apps out there if you want to do, I don't know, low light photography and things like that. So the type of the sunset, sunrise, tide times and things like that. If you're going to be doing seascapes, then it's all, it's worth planning, taking your time and really looking into the detail of what you're going to be doing for that day and the locations that you're going to be shooting in. Of course, then there's the cost. I'm thinking about Lake District, Scotland, down south. I'm not talking about getting on a plane to go off to the Dolomites or indeed Iceland or somewhere like that. When I'm talking about these things, I'm talking about local things really. So you have to think about how much is it going to cost to park, where you're going to park, can you park there? Is your vehicle going to be all right there for a set amount of time? Have you got enough time to do what you need to do? Do you need food? Do you need water? Are you going to be walking quite far? And then look at your camera kit. Are you prepared for the day ahead, or however many hours you're setting out for? Is your camera charged? Is your memory card formatted? Don't forget, if you've got a drone or you're doing vlogging, then obviously you're going to need them things powered up. And again, memory cards. I mean, I say it doesn't matter how experienced you are, I guarantee it happens to everybody. Sometimes you forget a lens or another piece of kit, and it can ruin your day. You can set off so keen and dying to get to the location and dying to get some good pictures, and then all of a sudden you've forgot something. And it's, game over. Another key fundamental really is time of things. Be prepared to wait for the right light, for the rain to stop or whatever. So you need to factor in that you might be out for 3 hours, you might be out for 4 or 5 hours. Just bear in mind that if you've left your car parked, that you're not going to get there late. And indeed, how long is it going to take you to get there? And then once you've got there, I don't like this, I call it the machine gun approach, where you're just blatting away on the camera and just hoping to get some kind of shot. Take your time. There's plenty of time, or you should have plenty of time if you plan things properly. So do take your time and enjoy the scene really, and enjoy the nature, and enjoy just being outside and getting to do what you love to do and taking pictures. I remember I was up in Scotland a couple of years ago and I took this image, and my goodness, I only just made sunrise. It was so close. I was sweating and panicking, trying to jump over this fence to get to this location. And this is a shot of Loch Tulla, just as the light was at its very best. But another few minutes before then, or another few minutes later, and I probably would have missed the shot. So think about that and just take your time and think about things. Additionally, you need to really think about your safety. Don't go looking for that master shot, that fantastic image, if you're going to be putting yourself or others in danger, really. Just think about, your safety. It's critical. Particularly the thing I love doing is, if you drop into my vlogs regularly, you'll know that I love taking pictures of waterfalls. And if you've not got your wits about you, you can end up a little bit unstuck, shall we say. Factor in a walk to the location. How far away is it? How long is it going to take you? So think about that. And then once you've factored into that time, how long are you going to have at that location? Have you got enough time? You need to factor all that in so you're not rushing to get a shot that you want, and actually you're going to end up missing that because you've missed the right opportunity of light, or like I said before, you're in a window of weather that's going to last too long and you're not going to be able to get the shot. So just factor that in and think about how far it is to drive there or indeed to walk there. Probably one of the cornerstones of photography, without a shadow of a doubt, is lighting. The light is everything, and it's essential that you use that to your advantage, because if you don't, it's just an opportunity missed. It gives a picture texture, it gives it balance, it gives it mood, all of those things that you need for a good picture. Forget about composition for a moment. Without good light, you might as well pack your kit and go home. Honestly, if the light is not there, there's really no hope in getting a good photograph, really. So think about sunrise, sunset, because every location is different, and actually some work perfectly for sunrise and sunset. Others might just work for one, and guess what? Some are poor for sunset and sunrise. So you need to think carefully. Again, in your preparation phase, you need to be thinking, is it good for sunrise? Is it good for sunset? What about blue hour? And what about golden hour? Could I utilize that time? Is that the best time to go there? And also consider the seasons. My personal favourite is autumn. I just love autumn. Is just, for me, that is when you get the best light. The colours are in the trees and in the foliage. And it's autumn. Particularly one of my favourite places up in Glencoe, Scotland, in the autumn is just sublime. It is absolutely stunning. Think about the seasons and think about which is best for the location, really. Some locations work really well in the winter as well, when there's snow on the ground. When you're looking for the contours of the landscape and things like that, when it's covered in snow, or when there's icicles hanging down, or there's frost on the trees. Each location really suits a different season, I would say. So again, it's in the planning phase of your photography. And one thing that's often overlooked, it's belting down with rain, the sky is opened, the clouds are like black in the sky, but actually, if there's a chance of the sun peeking out through them clouds, then that is one of the best times to get photographs. The light then is superb. And if you can time that correctly and get a shot, then you're on your way to get a banger, honestly. Yeah, it goes without saying, After the Storm, for me personally, again, is one of my favourite times to shoot landscape photography. Goes without saying that composition is critical. You need to know a bit about composition, and I've included a couple of parts of composition in this video. What I would say is that without good composition, your pictures are gonna, well, they're probably just going to be mediocre pictures, I would say. If you learn how to compose a picture correctly, then you'll be on your way to produce some fantastic images. I always remember on my A-level photography course, we were taught about composition. And at that point, it kind of penny dropped for me. And I really thought, that's it. This is what I needed to know. And it brought on my photography so much. It made such a difference. Once I cracked composition, everything just started to fit in place. The way I approach it is putting the different elements in a picture. It's almost like organizing the elements is a better explanation, I think. And if you can organize the elements within your frame, within your picture, then you're on your way to getting a banger, really. If everything comes into alignment in terms of composition, the lighting and the mood of a shot, then you will definitely get a banger of a photograph. But that's the hard bit. How do you do that? This is something Ansel Adams said. Let's make some pictures, is what I often say in my vlogs. And it's true, you do make pictures. I'm not a fan of over photoshopping pictures in terms of cloning people in, out, cloning trees out, and everything else. For me, it kind of takes away the creative part of it. If you're going to do everything in Photoshop or in Lightroom with luminosity masks and everything else, well, it's has a place. But when you start doing it too much and start cloning everything out, well, it's almost like you become a graphic designer almost, or a graphic illustrator, not really photographer. I think you're starting to slide off, and it's easy to get in the habit of doing it, and easy to get into the habit of, I'll just remove that in Photoshop, and that it kind of suppresses your creativity, in my opinion. If you're photoshopping everything out or in to a picture, then yeah. It's just not for me. But if that's what you do, well, that's fine as well. I mean, you're free to do what you want, but it's not for me. So from day one, week one of learning composition, the rule of thirds kind of is the thing, or the go-to composition that I always have used quite naturally. But I didn't really understand how it was working until it was explained to me what the rule of thirds are. And often that is the go-to composition rule that I'm using on a regular basis with my landscape photography. So learn how to use it and learn how to use the other different components of composition, and your photography, trust me, will improve massively. So if you take anything away from this, learn composition, because it's key in making good pictures. The rule of thirds works on the principle of dividing any image up into 9 component parts, or 9 squares. The rule suggests that the most important elements in any scene should be placed along these lines, such as the horizon, or in this case the little island with the trees. The elements can also be placed on the intersecting lines. These lines, or these points, are known as the power points. If you place an item on a PowerPoint, it so much gives an image more impact. Compositional impact is what I'm talking about. So do use it. In addition to that though, it doesn't mean that you have to stick to that rigidly, because rules are, if you think about it, rules are there to be broken. Well, though, it depends what rules we're talking about. But yeah, in this instance, here is Sycamore Gap. And as you can see, I've chosen in this photograph to put it smack bang in the center, standing right in the center. And does it work? Yes, I think it does. So we don't always have to stick to the rules, but we shouldn't be breaking the rules if it adds nothing to the composition or nothing to the image. So yes, rules can be broken, but just be careful that you don't overdo it or kill the composition. Another fantastic compositional tool is leading lines. So do use it, or do try it, because it honestly will make a difference to your pictures. The key thing is that you know what you're doing and what the purpose of the leading line is. There's no point having a leading line that goes to nowhere, although it can go off the end of the horizon, that's different. But a leading line, the clue is in the name, it needs to lead somewhere. You must have a start point and, actually, as I've just mentioned, an end point. And what a leading line does actually is just lead the viewer's eye to a point in the picture, or somewhere that you want the viewer or something you want the viewer to look at. The line doesn't have to be straight, by the way. It can be an S-curve, or it could be a number of S-curves. But it has to have a beginning, a starting point, and an end point, really. You can use natural landscape lines like riverbeds, or in this instance of Janet's Foss, the landscape or the water can lead to a point. So you can use natural lines as well as man-made lines such as roads and things like that. It's something to have a go at and have a try if you don't already include it in your photography. And again, it's a good, strong compositional tool that you should have in your photography toolbox. Another excellent composition technique is that of using depth in your pictures. What am I talking about when we're talking about depth? Well, what I mean is you need foreground, midground, and then the background or far distance. Using this method, you create depth in almost a 3D effect to your images. It's quite tricky to get right, but when you do get it right, it can produce some fantastic results. Again, with this rule, the rule can be broken, but what I would say is you've just got to be using the depth of field sparingly. You can have a very shallow depth of field and have the foreground blurry, but again, it doesn't want to be taking up too much of the picture. I would say if it's taking up more than a third of the picture, the blurry area, it doesn't work as well as what having a normal depth of field would look like, and it can actually spoil the images. Another fantastic compositional technique is using people in the landscape. Now, I have got a total separate vlog on this, so I'm not going to go into massive detail now about it, only to say I do use people and or animals, just adding a point of interest or to show scale, the vastness of an area. It is really really useful when you're stuck in trying to get people to understand the scale of a massive vista or a mountain. If you're going to include people in the landscape, then size is important. The reason I say that, if you take a look at this shot of Saseda in the Italian Dolomites, it's hard to see the people. Unless this was a huge print, you probably wouldn't see the people. I'm going to zoom in now for you so you can see them. But in terms of scale, this just shows the massiveness of this mountain. Massiveness, is that even a word? But it shows the hugeness or the scale of this massive mountain in the Dolomites. Here's a picture of my wife and I in Derwentwater. And again, you can include people to add a little bit of emotion into a picture. If it's a couple, it does for some viewers emote a bit of emotion in the picture. If you include people in the right atmosphere, in the right light, it does do that for certain people and certain viewers of your photograph. For me, if you're starting out in landscape photography, honeypot locations, in other words, well visited and well photographed locations that work compositionally and are over visited in some respects, that are just a great starting point. So if you get the chance to go out and just have a try at some of these honeypot locations just for your portfolio, or even trying to better past shots of that location, then I would highly recommend that you go have a look and go take some pictures, because it's like a learning curve, if you like. And I think often if you go to a location and bag that first shot of the location, it's in the bag then. You've got the honeypot location squared away. I know there's some photographers, and I've seen some people in vlogs who will revisit a waterfall like 2, 3 or 4 times over a period of days. I'm sorry, that's not my bag. I'm not going to keep going back to a location until I get a shot that I need. That's not what I'm about. I might try once or maybe twice but it's not a thing. I don't revisit on a trip of 4 or 5 days. I do not revisit a place just to get the one shot. For me, it's just not worth it. Explore other compositions once you've been to the honeypot location, and that way you'll get more shots. And also have a plan B. If you need to go back to a waterfall because there's not enough water in it, for example, well, just leave it for another time, or just mark it as that was plan A, it's not worked, let's go to plan B. Yeah, that's my thoughts. It's up to you, obviously, what you do, but I'm not one for spending tons of time going back and forth to the same location. It doesn't make sense to me, just for to get one good picture. It goes without saying that as a landscape photographer, you are going to need a tripod. Whether that's for long exposures, well, it's essential for long exposures, let's be honest. You need to keep the camera steady for a long period of time. It's good in harsh or windy conditions to keep your camera steady, particularly when you're doing seascapes. If you're hanging off the side of a cliff or whatever you're doing, then a good tripod is essential, I would say. and the other thing is, obviously, it slows you down. When you've got your camera on a tripod, you tend to slow down and take things more methodical. And going back to the time slide, it just slows you down, which is a good thing, I think. And it gets your head around composing a good photograph, and just slows the process down quite a lot. What I would say is, I've got 2 carbon fiber tripods. The bigger one, the Manfrotto, is quite heavy. Would I take it to the Dolomites or on another location far off? Probably not. In fact, I wouldn't. I'd use the smaller one that I've got. It's only about this big, and it fits into my suitcase, and it's not too heavy in comparison to the Manfrotto with a big Benro head. That is really heavy. But I like that for good steady shots, and using that for those type of images where it's windy or the conditions are are quite harsh, then yeah. So it really needs to suit your needs, and you need a tripod fit for the job, really. The right tools for the right job, I suppose. Whilst we're on the subject of tripods and camera kit, let's talk a little bit about that. I have got no qualms about buying something camera related, camera gear related, off eBay, off I don't know, Facebook Marketplace or whatever. But the key thing is that you need to do your research and make sure that what you're buying or what you're paying for is what you're expecting, really. I remember once, it's a good few years ago now, it was just before COVID, I bought a D800 camera, and the guy was actually based up in Scotland, or so he told me. Needless to say, 6 hours later, right up to the north of Scotland, got to the address, and the address did not exist. When I spoke to him on the Messenger app in eBay, his account had been deleted. Luckily, I hadn't paid for the camera, but that was a lesson in do your background research. Make sure, if the price is too good for the item, it's probably too good to be true. It's probably not true. So just be wary of that, really. There's a myth about you need the best camera for landscape photography to get the best pictures. I would totally disagree with that. I don't think that. I don't think that's true. If you think about it, where's your pictures going to be? Most of them are going to be stuck on your hard drive. You might print the odd one or two, and how big are you going to print it? You don't need multi-megapixels for landscape photography, particularly if they're not going to get any bigger than, I don't know, a 16 by 9 or whatever size you print them to. So that's a myth. Don't forget as well, the kit that you buy, just think about, my kit is really heavy. It's an old Nikon D850. It's a bit of a bulky item. It's a bit of a monster of a camera in terms of weight. So whatever you're buying, just think about in your camera bag what you've got in there, and actually is it worth carrying it to the location? Do you need it? Do you need a super wide angle lens for the location that you're going to, or can you leave it in the car or not take it at all? At the end of the day, you're carrying the kit, so just be mindful of, is it necessary, and is it going to break your back climbing up Scarfell Pike with all that kit? So yeah, at the end of the day, does it do the job that you want it to do? And yeah, is it necessary to take it? And actually, when you're buying kit, do you need it? I mean, for me, it doesn't matter to me if it's brand new or secondhand. If I need it and it's cheaper than what I would pay for it, it's in good condition, it works properly, functions correctly, then yeah, I'll just buy it. Another thing I want to mention is, yes, there's mirrorless and there's mirrored cameras, SLRs, DSLRs, and all the rest of it. Ultimately, I think for me, my Nikon D850 is my go-to camera. I absolutely love it. It is exactly what it says on the tin. I trust Nikon 100%, and I've tried other cameras, and I don't really need to go to another camera manufacturer. My camera is superb, and it produces, in the right conditions, when it's set up correctly, it produces superb images. Now, it has got tons of bells and whistles. It's got focus peaking and all the other stuff that, yeah, false horizons and everything. It's got all of that stuff on it. Do I use it? No, because it takes the enjoyment out of it. If the camera's doing every single thing for you, where is the joy in that? I mean, I don't get it. If that's what you do, that's fine. But for me, the joy of getting out and doing landscape photography is actually about thinking about the exposure, thinking about the composition, thinking about what lens I'm using, thinking about my viewpoint. It's all about that. I don't want the camera doing every single thing for me. actually most of the time I'm either in manual mode or aperture priority. I don't go near program mode. Yeah, maybe it's just me, I don't know. One thing obviously that is important is software for your computer, and it goes without saying, digital images, you need to process them from RAW. I always shoot in RAW. I do not use JPEG. Everything I shoot is in RAW. And along with that comes the thing of editing and processing your images. You need to be using good software. There's no point having a huge file, putting it on your computer, and your computer kind of deal with it, and it can't be processed properly. So you need the right software. Lightroom and Photoshop from Adobe is what I use. I use Creative package, and it's, I don't know, something like £15 a month or something, and it's worth every penny. I know there's AI denoise and there's all of these other things and all of these other bits of software. Again, much like I mentioned about the camera, when we're getting into situations where I need to be using software to be doing everything, then it takes the enjoyment out of it for me. I could use AI to process my images. I know how it works, but it just takes the enjoyment out of photography. Part of photography that I love is the creative part and using my skills and my vision of a picture, but at the same time not overdoing it. So software is essential, and some of the things you can get actually for free if you're not going to be doing too much work on the image. But for me, a minimum is Photoshop really, and then maybe Camera Raw plugin and things like that. But yeah, Photoshop is a minimum. It's important that you've got good software to edit your images. So just to close off then, don't forget to shoot images that you like to take and that you like. It's not all about other people's opinions. Everybody's entitled to their opinion of a photograph, but ultimately, if the picture means something to you, you've spent the time to go out and capture it, then so be it. And don't forget that sometimes we'll have a little bit of dip or a lull in the hunger for photography. That's just natural. It does come along. Sometimes you just need to have a bit time out and come back to it. And don't be scared to show off your pictures as well. There's nothing worse than spending tons of time and the cost that it takes to get out and about and take landscape photographs. Get them shown off, whether that be on photography forums or social media or wherever you want to show your photographs. Let people see your work. Otherwise, I don't see much point in going out and spending money to take photographs. Don't be scared to enter competitions as well. That's how you learn, I think. There's nothing wrong with a little bit of critique of your work or people having constructive criticism. That's absolutely fine. And you never know, you might win a competition. I've had myself my pictures on calendars and things like that, and it is quite good to get your work out there. If you are taking pictures, sometimes thinking outside the box really does produce the goods. Not all the time, but you've got to just keep trying different things. Try a bit of black and white, a bit of seascape photography. Just mix it up a little bit from time to time. Keeps that hunger going, I think. And one thing to close off on definitely is there is no copyright on ideas. I can tell you for a fact that there's people out there that will copy the images that you take. So I know from doing my vlogs, people copy off vlogs and the way you do things and how you do things. That's just part and parcel of photography. Is it? Unfortunately, I don't know. But people will copy off what you do. There's no copyright on ideas. So yeah, keep that in mind. Keep doing what you're doing, taking photographs. Thanks for tuning in as always. Please do like and subscribe. That'll be awesome if it's your first visit. And I hope you've taken something or learned something from this vlog and something that you can use in the future. All the best. Stay safe. Catch you in a bit. Bye bye.